Hello, I'm Antonio Mora. This is the News and News.com Day in Brief. Today's top stories in 4 minutes. It's Monday, November 5th at about 6:30 p.m. If you think you're going to get a prediction from me about what will happen on Election Day, you'd be wrong, at least partially wrong. I'll go out on a pretty big and strong limb and predict three things. One, turnout will be significantly higher for this election than any recent midterm election. Two, Democrats will narrowly take control of the House while the GOP will hang on to the Senate. And three, the country will be just as divided on Wednesday as it is today. President Trump has cast the midterms as a referendum on him. Former President Obama has made it about Trump too, saying the very character of the country is on the ballot. They're both exaggerating. Local political issues and personalities will have a lot to do with what happens, and I seriously doubt there will be much change in the nation's character because of a midterm election. The most likely change we'll face in the next few months is in the Trump administration itself. It's usual to see turnover in any administration in the weeks after a midterm election, but observers on both right and left expect a larger exodus than usual. The biggest question is whether Attorney General Jeff Sessions and his deputy Rod Rosenstein will be pushed out, and what that would mean for Special Counsel Mueller's investigation into Russian meddling during the 2016 election. Immigration has been the centerpiece of Trump's campaign rhetoric. He's promised an ever-increasing number of troops would head to the border and secure it. He said immigrants would be housed in tent cities indefinitely until their asylum cases were resolved. Last week I pointed out that critics would call them concentration camps and that it would not look good for the U.S. military to patrol camps that held families. Reports now indicate the Pentagon, in effect, balked at building detention facilities. No surprise. On the immigration front as well, NBC, Fox News, and Fox Business have joined CNN in banning a controversial Trump commercial that linked the migrant caravans to an illegal immigrant convicted of killing law enforcement officials and who promised to kill more. As soon as the ad appeared online last week, it was immediately condemned by many as racist. So how it ever aired on TV is a mystery to me. The U.S. officially reimposed sanctions on Iran today as part of its withdrawal from the Obama-era nuclear agreement. Iran's president responded by warning, "We are in a war situation," and vowed to break the sanctions. Also, equity markets tend to like divided government, so if predictions hold and the Democrats take the House while the GOP holds on to the Senate, Election Day may be a blip when it comes to stocks. That might not be the case if the Democrats end up controlling both houses of Congress. True to form, the Dow was up 0.5 percentage point, the S&P 500 0.75%. The Nasdaq was down about 1/3 of a point, but it was dragged down by another bad day for Apple, which was downgraded again amid lower expectations for iPhone sales. In our alternate universes segment, The Great Divide Between Conservative and Liberal Media, both sides do very poorly in reporting on the results of polls, especially on TV. First, increasing bias leads them to report more often, at times exclusively, on polls that support their chosen narratives. Second, news organizations commission their own polls, which aren't cheap, and it's natural for them to highlight what they paid for. Third, they're lazy. They rarely bother to do the work needed to see what other polls are out there or to compare their poll to an average of polls, such as the one that is constantly updated by Real Clear Politics. So here's today's example. CNN issued results of a poll that showed Democrats widening their lead in a generic ballot to 13 percentage points. They didn't bother to tell you that a Political Morning Consult poll showed the Democrats ahead by only 3 percentage points. There were differences. Politico looked at registered voters, not likely voters, and CNN polled through Saturday, Politico just through Friday. Another poll out today of likely voters by NBC Wall Street Journal, with exactly the same dates as CNN's, showed Democrats leading by 7 percentage points. Don't you think honest reporting should tell you about all those polls? So if you were just looking at CNN or the CNN website, you'd see a story that Democrats are widening their lead going into the election. To Jake Tapper's credit, he did suggest CNN's poll could be an outlier, something others didn't do. Meanwhile, if you looked around, you would find articles on numerous sources reporting that the race is tightening. There's a reason we've made a decision at News and News to rarely report on polls, and that when we do so with articles that look at a broad variety of them. As they say, the only poll that matters is on Election Day. CNN's coverage of its poll led to the inevitable presidential tweet with Trump accusing the network of engaging in fake voter suppression polls. There's the vicious circle again. And as I mentioned earlier, I hate to say that whatever happens on Tuesday, the more things change, the more they will stay the same. Along those lines, one final point. Do we really have to keep hearing pundits say this is the most important election in our lifetimes? I'll bet the same people said that in 2016, and will say it again in 2020. We have all those stories and much more updated around the clock 7 days a week on newsandnews.com, where you will find all you need to know in one place. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the right of your screen just below this video. Please follow us on Facebook at Real News and News, and follow me on Twitter at AmoraTV. I will see you again tomorrow.